Now, a Christmas Eve mystery. What happened to this 19-year-old from San Antonio who just walked out of the house in her pajamas and never came back?
A grainy dashcam video captures a figure walking alone on Wildhorse Parkway at 7 in the morning on Christmas Eve. The person moves with purpose, wearing a black North Face sweater with baby blue accents, baby blue shorts, and white shoes. This footage, released just hours ago on December 29, 2025, may be the last confirmed sighting of 19-year-old Camila Mendoza Olmos. She left her home that morning without her phone, without her belongings, without telling anyone where she was going. And 5 days later, despite hundreds of volunteers searching, despite federal agencies getting involved, despite her family's desperate pleas, Camila has simply vanished. Before we dive deeper into this case, if you're new to One Crime at a Time, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss an update on cases like this one. Now, let's talk about what happened to Camila. Christmas Eve 2025 was supposed to be a day of celebration, of family gathering, of joy and anticipation. For the Mendoza Olmos family living in northwest Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas, it became the beginning of their worst nightmare. Picture this. A quiet residential neighborhood in the 11,000 block of Caspian Spring. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across driveways and manicured lawns. Most families are still asleep, dreaming of presents under the tree and holiday meals to come. But at 6:58 in the morning, security cameras outside the Mendoza Olmos home capture something that would later send chills down investigators' spines. Camila, a petite young woman, just 5'4" and 110 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes, appears on her own surveillance footage. She's wearing that distinctive black North Face sweater with baby blue accents, those baby blue shorts and white shoes. She's not rushing, not panicking, just moving with what appears to be deliberate purpose toward her car parked in the driveway. Think about that for a moment. It's nearly 7 in the morning on Christmas Eve. Where could a 19-year-old possibly need to go at that hour? The footage shows her searching through her car, looking for something. What was she looking for? We don't know. But here's what makes this even stranger. After searching her vehicle, Camila doesn't get in and drive away. Instead, according to investigators who have studied every second of that footage, she leaves the residence on foot. Her car stays right there in the driveway. Her phone, the device that practically every teenager and young adult treats as an extension of their body, stays inside the house. All of her belongings remain untouched in her room. The only thing she apparently took with her was her car key. Why would someone take a car key, but leave on foot? Now this is where that dashcam video I mentioned at the beginning becomes absolutely crucial. Released today during a news conference held by Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar, this footage gives us a potential trail. The video allegedly shows Camila walking alone around 7 in the morning on December 24th. The figure in the footage appears to be on Wildhorse Parkway, moving steadily, alone, with no one following her, no one beside her. Sheriff Salazar told reporters and the gathered media that this video came from a citizen who came forward after seeing news coverage of Camila's disappearance.
Video that somebody from the neighborhood here was on their way to work about 7 a.m., about the same time, and saw what they believed may have been her on a dash cam. This person had a dash cam operating in their vehicle. They shared that video with us, and again, at present, I'm not able to say with 100% certainty that this is the young lady in the picture, but it does certainly have the clothing description on this pedestrian certainly does match up with what she was wearing at the time. And so, we're sharing that information, that video with you all, in hopes that somebody may have collected similar video. Up to this point, really, this was the best direction of flight that we were able to develop.
This person was driving through the area that morning, and their dashcam happened to capture what might be Camila's last known movements. But let's rewind a bit and talk about who Camila is, because she's not just a missing person case number. She's a daughter, a sister, a young woman who had just turned 19 years old. She had her whole life stretching out before her, full of possibilities and dreams and potential. Her mother, Rosario Olmos, spoke to reporters with the kind of anguish that only a mother experiencing the unthinkable can convey. She said, and I want you to really hear these words.
Knowing that, she was gone and her phone was still there, it was just very unusual. And that's why we genuinely have no clue what to think.
Imagine that. The day that should be filled with joy and family and celebration has become the day your child disappeared without a trace. The response from Camila's extended family shows you just how loved she is. Some family members drove 17 hours from California to Texas. 17 hours in a car, barely stopping, racing against time and hope, just to join the search efforts. And they weren't alone. More than 100 volunteers from the community, people who may have never even met Camila, showed up to search neighborhoods, knock on doors, distribute flyers, and comb through the areas where she might have walked. That's the power of a community coming together, and it speaks volumes about the impact this case has had. But here's where this case takes some concerning turns. And I need to be sensitive here because we're talking about real mental health struggles that real people face every single day. According to Sheriff Salazar, Camila has a history of suicidal ideation. This is important information that investigators have to consider when trying to understand why someone might leave home early in the morning without their phone or belongings. When law enforcement classifies a missing person case as imminent danger, which they did with Camila's case, it means they believe the person could be in immediate risk of harm. Sheriff Salazar explained that imminent danger could mean anything from self-harm all the way through kidnapping, and he emphasized that all of those possibilities exist in this investigation. However, and this is where family perspectives sometimes differ from official statements, Camila's father has stated that she had no history of depression or mental health struggles.
That she might have said her goodbyes to you a day prior?
Oh, she came in and said and told me she loves me, but that was usual for me. She was daddy's girl and always loved me, and she loved me and cared for me. To remember that I love you, I said like nothing. She always said that to me, so it wasn't something awkward or different. I never thought unusual, but she ain't the type of person who would have done something like this. She always put her, first. I mean, she wouldn't put her. She always put anybody first before her, and caring, loving, Christian.
This discrepancy isn't necessarily unusual in cases like this. Sometimes family members aren't aware of internal battles their loved ones are fighting. Sometimes people hide their pain incredibly well. And sometimes there are misunderstandings or different interpretations of someone's mental state. The truth is, we may never know what was truly going on in Camila's mind that morning unless she's found safe and can tell us herself. There's another element to this story that investigators are looking into. Camila had recently gone through a romantic breakup. Now, anyone who's been through a breakup, especially when you're young and your emotions feel like they're at maximum intensity, knows how devastating that can feel. Your first thought might be that this breakup is somehow connected to her disappearance. But here's what authorities have said about that. The breakup was mutual. Both parties agreed to end the relationship. And investigators have stated they don't suspect anything nefarious was involved with the ex-partner. They've looked into it, they've investigated that angle, and they don't believe it's connected to her disappearance. But breakups, even mutual ones, can still hurt. They can still leave you feeling lost, questioning your worth, wondering about your future. Could that emotional pain have contributed to whatever decision Camila made that morning? It's possible. Let's talk about the investigation itself, because this isn't just a local missing persons case anymore. This has escalated to involve multiple federal agencies. The FBI has joined the search. Think about that for a second. The Federal Bureau of Investigation doesn't get involved in every missing person case. Their involvement suggests that investigators believe there's a possibility Camila could have traveled across state lines, or that there are elements to this case that require federal resources and jurisdiction. But it goes even further than that. The United States Department of Homeland Security is now checking outbound flights and border crossings. They're looking at airports to see if anyone matching Camila's description boarded a plane. They're monitoring border checkpoints to see if she crossed into Mexico. San Antonio is only about 150 miles from the Mexican border, so it's not an unreasonable distance for someone to travel if they were trying to disappear or start over somewhere else. This level of response tells us that investigators are covering every possible scenario. They're not just assuming she's somewhere in the local area. They're considering the possibility that she could be anywhere, that she could have traveled far from home, either by her own choice or because someone took her. And that's absolutely terrifying for her family, because instead of being able to focus their search on a specific neighborhood or area, they now have to grapple with the reality that their daughter could be almost anywhere in the country, or even beyond. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office has been the lead agency on this case, and they've been working around the clock since that Christmas Eve morning. They've set up a dedicated tip line at 210-335-6000, and they've also established an email address specifically for this case at missingpersons@bexar.org. They're pleading with the public to come forward with any information, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem. That dashcam footage that came from someone who saw the news coverage and thought, "Hey, I was driving through that area that morning, and my dashcam was recording." They didn't think it was important at first, but they came forward anyway, and now that footage is potentially the most significant piece of evidence in the entire case. This is what investigators mean when they say every tip matters. Maybe you saw someone matching Camila's description at a gas station. Maybe you noticed someone walking along the road that morning. Maybe you saw something that didn't quite feel right, but you dismissed it at the time. In cases like this, seemingly unimportant details can be the puzzle piece that cracks everything wide open. And this is where I want to talk to you directly, because you're watching this video, which means you care about cases like this. You care about finding missing people. You care about justice and truth. If you live in the San Antonio area, if you were anywhere near northwest Bexar County on the morning of December 24th, if you have dashcam footage from that day, please reach out to authorities. Check your footage. See if there's anything that could help. Now let's consider the various scenarios that investigators are likely exploring, because understanding all the possibilities helps us understand why this case is so complex. Scenario 1. Camila left voluntarily and is somewhere safe but hasn't contacted her family. This happens sometimes. People experiencing emotional distress, major life changes, or feeling overwhelmed by their circumstances decide they need to get away, to have space, to figure things out. They don't always realize how much pain their disappearance causes. Or sometimes they're so lost in their own struggles that they can't see beyond their immediate need to escape. If this is what happened, Camila could be staying with a friend, in a hotel, or somewhere else where she feels safe. The problem with this scenario is that she left without her phone, which makes it much harder for her to contact anyone even if she wanted to. Scenario 2. Camila left with the intention of harming herself. This is the scenario that keeps her family up at night, the one that makes every hour she's missing more urgent and terrifying. Given the statement from Sheriff Salazar about her history of suicidal ideation, investigators have to take this possibility seriously. They've likely been checking hospitals, reaching out to crisis centers, and searching areas where someone in distress might go. The fact that she left without her phone could support this scenario, as people sometimes deliberately leave behind ways for others to contact or track them. Scenario 3. Camila encountered foul play. Maybe she went out for a walk to clear her head, and someone abducted her. Maybe she agreed to meet someone, and that person harmed her. This is why federal agencies are involved, why they're checking border crossings and flights, why they're treating this with such urgency. Human trafficking is a real threat, especially for young women. Opportunistic predators exist. And while we don't want to jump to conclusions or create unnecessary panic, it's a scenario that has to be investigated thoroughly. Scenario 4, and this is a possibility that combines elements of the others. Camila left voluntarily, but then encountered trouble. Maybe she was walking to meet a friend or to get some air, and something happened along the way. Maybe she accepted a ride from the wrong person. Maybe she had an accident that prevented her from getting home or contacting her family. This is why that dashcam footage showing her walking alone on Wildhorse Parkway is so important. It establishes that at least at that moment, she was alone and apparently okay, but what happened after that? As I'm researching and putting this story together for you, what strikes me most is the timing. Christmas Eve, a day when most people are with their families, when communities come together, when there's this collective feeling of anticipation and joy. But for the Mendoza Olmos family, that day will forever be marked by Camila's disappearance. Rosario, Camila's mother, can't celebrate. She can't enjoy Christmas dinner or exchange gifts or smile at holiday movies. How could she? Her daughter is out there somewhere, and every minute that passes without answers is agony. Her father, despite whatever disagreements there might be about Camila's mental health history, is united with the rest of the family in desperate hope and increasingly painful fear. The volunteers who have been searching, those 100-plus people who gave up their own holiday time to help find a young woman many of them had never met, they represent the best of humanity. They're walking through neighborhoods in the cold, they're putting up flyers, they're sharing information on social media, They're doing everything they can to bring Camila home. But as days turn into almost a week now, with December 29th marking 5 days since she vanished, the statistics become harder to ignore. The first 48 hours in a missing person case are crucial. After that, the likelihood of a safe recovery begins to decrease. We're well past that window now. The fact that multiple agencies are now involved, that Homeland Security is checking border crossings, that the FBI has joined the search, all of this tells us that this case is being taken extremely seriously at the highest levels. But it also tells us that investigators truly don't know what happened. If they had a clear theory, if they believed they knew where she was or what scenario was most likely, the response would be more focused. Instead, they're casting the widest possible net, checking every possibility, because they can't afford to miss anything. And here's where we need to talk about something that often gets overlooked in true crime coverage. Mental health. Whether or not Camila was struggling with suicidal thoughts, whether or not she had depression, these are real issues that real people face every day. If you're watching this and you're struggling, if you're feeling like the world would be better off without you, if you're thinking about harming yourself, please hear me when I say this: you matter. Your life has value. The pain you're feeling right now, as overwhelming as it is, it's not permanent. But the decision to end your life is. Please reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Talk to someone. Let someone help you carry that weight. So where does that leave us with Camila's case? As of right now, December 29th, 2025, she has been missing for 5 days. She was last confirmed to be alive and walking on Wildhorse Parkway in northwest Bexar County around 7 in the morning on Christmas Eve. She was wearing a black North Face sweater with baby blue accents, baby blue shorts, and white shoes. She's 19 years old, 5'4", 110 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She left her home without her phone, without her belongings, with only apparently her car key. Her family is desperate for answers. Law enforcement agencies at the local, state, and federal level are actively investigating, and the community continues to search and share her information. But the biggest question remains unanswered. Where is Camila Mendoza Olmos? Is she out there somewhere, safe but unable or unwilling to contact her family? Is she in danger, needing rescue? Did something terrible happen to her that morning or shortly after? The uncertainty is perhaps the cruelest part of cases like this, because without answers, her family can't grieve, they can't heal, they can't move forward. They're stuck in this horrific limbo of not knowing, and that not knowing eats away at you every single second of every single day. This case is still very much active and ongoing. Things could change tomorrow. Someone could come forward with information that breaks everything wide open. That dashcam footage could lead to more witnesses. Camila herself could walk through her front door. Or, and this is the outcome no one wants to consider but everyone fears, they could find evidence that tells a much darker story. We don't know yet. And that's why cases like this need attention, need people talking about them, need the public engaged and watching and remembering. Because somewhere out there, someone knows something. Someone saw something. Someone has a piece of information that could bring Camila home. Now I want you to really think about something. What makes a 19-year-old leave her home on Christmas Eve morning without telling anyone? What was going through Camila's mind as she walked away from her house, away from her family, away from the holiday celebration that should have been waiting for her? Was she running from something? Running toward something? Was she in such emotional pain that she couldn't see any other option? Or was there something else entirely, something we haven't even begun to understand, that pulled her away from safety and into the unknown? And here's another question that gets to the psychological complexity of cases like this. If Camila left voluntarily, if she's somewhere safe right now, what would it take for her to come home? What fear or pain or circumstance is strong enough to keep a young woman away from her family during the holidays, knowing they must be terrified and heartbroken? And if she's not able to come home on her own, if something is preventing her, whether that's a person, a situation, or her own mental state, how do we reach her? How do we let her know that people are looking, that people care, that there's help available? Comment your thoughts below. What do you think happened to Camila? Do you have theories about that morning? Have you been following this case? Share this video with anyone who needs to hear this story, anyone in the San Antonio area who might have information, anyone who cares about missing persons cases. Hit that like button, subscribe to One Crime at a Time, and turn on notifications so you stay updated as this case develops, because I'll be following every new piece of information and bringing it to you as it happens. If you found this case interesting, visit the channel to watch this next and discover more similar vital cases like this. Because every missing person deserves to have their story told, and every family deserves answers.